Hello, internet friends. Evan Benton of Dogg from Mayor reporting on a very weird, strange tragedy which occurred last night, and I'm sure everyone's heard of it by now. Of course, I'm referring to the Astroworld Festival, Travis Scott concert. Of course, I don't know who this person is, but I watched several videos. I read and learned what I could today about this, and so um, I'm I'm putting it in my COVID-19 playlist for speculative reasons, which I will get to in a moment. But first of all, my condolences go out to the families of those affected last night. The 8 dead, dozens hospitalized, and hundreds reported to have been treated on site. That's right, hundreds out of 50,000 concert goers. And unfortunately, it does sound like the death toll is going to increase. First of all, because some of the people who are hospitalized will not recover, but secondly, because eyewitnesses are reporting that the death toll was actually greater than we were told. So we'll see if these numbers get updated in the days to come. The press is, of course, reporting that what happened is people rushed the stage and then these individuals were trampled or, you know, asphyxiated by the press of bodies around them, which, it happens. It does happen. You get squished right into the point where you can't breathe, and then your heart runs out of oxygen and it stops, and that's what they're reporting the cause of death was. In the majority of these cases, was heart attacks. Um, so the last time a similar situation happened in the United States was at a Who concert on December 8th, 1979, where 11 people died in this kind of rushing the stage. Actually, though, that event occurred before the concert, and so what happened is the band started performing a sound check, and the people in line, because the concert had started late, they thought that they were already starting, and they apparently rushed the box office, and 11 people died before the show. And then, of course, it brings to mind the Altamont Speedway disaster, where the Rolling Stones hired the Hells Angels to play the role of security guards there, and they stabbed somebody. And there's been tons of speculation as to the occult connections there, and I would refer you to David McGowan's work on the subject if you want to learn more about that. So, before I get into the really off the wall speculation, I gotta concede that yeah, this kind of thing does happen. It's only happened. It hasn't happened in 40 years, mind you, but it's possible. Um, and I, the music, I don't want to say the kids these days, but the kids these days, the music is. I went and listened to some of Travis Scott's uh, tunes, his beats, as they say, and boy, uh, to me, it mainly just boring. But when you understand how this stuff works, you understand that this music is explicitly hypnotic. It has a explicitly hypnotic effect, meaning you tend to zone out and go into a trance. It's a trance-inducing type of music. It reduces your inhibitions and makes you susceptible um, or suggestible, open to other people's ideas about what you should do. Okay. And so the way that works is basically you don't need to have a music background to understand this. Basically, we all know like music goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's like a beat, okay, or a measure or a bar, and it has a rhythmic pattern that repeats. And basically, that repeat tells your brain, how long, how long that idea is. It's analogous actually to like an idea. So your brain starts grouping the song into those sections, right? And multiple sections. Usually it's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's going to be there's going to be that's one, and then 4 of those is a larger thing, and then 4 of those is a larger thing. That's kind of how it works, And so when the when the grouping is bigger, the thought is bigger, and we have more kind of things going on in our minds. So if you imagine like an Indian classical music, that has really crazy things, really crazy like rhythmic structures. So instead of being like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you might count to like 15, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And that's how the players are performing it. That's how they're counting internally. So contrast that with just the way that the music sounds today. You can just listen to Travis Scott's music or any of these other. I mean, I hear it in my neighborhood all the time. This kind of stuff. It's just really drony and boring, quite frankly. Not a lot of variation in either the rhythm or in the melody or even just the volume. It's all at one, just a one level, right? Just droning. And all that to say, it's having an effect, right? So when we think about people going crazy and rushing the stage, it's like that's basically what this music is designed to do. Okay, so this hasn't happened in 40 years, and there wasn't even any music playing 40 years ago when it did happen. I'm not saying that you're just going to listen to music and go crazy and kill someone, right? Start playing Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. But we're talking about cumulative effect. So this has an effect. The other thing that has a big effect is, so I've gone to hundreds of concerts in my day, okay? And back in the 90s when we used to go to a show, you'd be going to school all day, right? And I'm from Oregon, so you drive from Salem up to Portland, right? It took like an hour and a half, and the show starts at 7, goes to 9 or 10, and then you got to go home because you have school the next day, right? So and you're in a city, okay? You go to a venue, which venues don't really there's not a lot of them anymore, first of all, but you only have, if you're gonna get drunk or high or whatever, you only have this like short window to do so before you have to sober up and drive home again, right? That was my experience with all the concerts that I went to. And yeah, I've like raised my hand and had the security guard pull me out of the pit, right? I've not been able to breathe at the concert before. So yeah, it does happen. It has happened in my time. But what's shifted is the music experience has shifted from concerts, which last a couple hours, to festivals, which last several days. And the point there is just, you're camping out. A lot of times, either you bring your own food or there's food provided to you. But it's an entire experience, where it's way more immersive, and you really have a lot of an opportunity to get out of your mind, to escape life. It's just not integrated. Where and before, back in the people used to dance back in the 40s and 50s before they shut all the clubs down. It used to just be that's what you did. You went out when you had you just went out on a Friday night and you heard the local band, and you danced with your honey, right? So back then it was even more so. Like, I feel like my experience was basically disintegrated, if you will, from what we ought to be, the way we ought to live our lives and our culture. But anyway, you're going to a festival. You've got a lot more opportunity to be taking drugs, and you're going to be on drugs for a lot longer of a time. You combine the hypnotic effect of drugs, the suggestible effect of drugs, with the suggestible effect of music, and you get this multiplicative effect. Okay, and so just just to the point as well, there were reports of violence going on all day at the Astroworld concert or a festival yesterday. It wasn't just Travis Scott. It was the whole day, and Travis Scott's performance was merely the culmination from what we are told. Okay, so there was violence all day. There was paramedics being called all day. And now here's where it gets really weird. I just have to say, fact confirmed, Astroworld did require proof of COVID-19 vaccination or proof of a negative COVID-19 test. So just grist for the rumor mill. Everyone who had this strange health effect had either, well, let's just assume probably that most of the people there had been vaccinated. In other words, I think that's a safe bet. And then also, when we're thinking about this, we got to also realize that Travis Scott was the creator of the Astroworld Festival, the impresario, we would say. So just think about that too. He's the guy running the whole show. Okay, so a little bit of a bio now on the guy, Travis Scott. He was born Jacques Webster II in 1991 in Houston, Texas. His mother worked for Apple. His father had his own business. So he's coming from an upper middle class black family, which is unusual. Unfortunately, we have to admit that that's the case. He went to private school for elementary and middle school. And, living in New Orleans, private school is a lot more common than it is in the rest of the country. So I'll say that in Houston, there's a potential that it's that same way too. And I'm from Oregon. I moved here, and I was surprised to learn how common private school is in New Orleans. And it's mostly Catholic school here. But so that might not be as unusual for him. That might not signify as a privileged, we might say, if he was white, of a background, right? But so his grandfather, Waymon Webster, and his father, Jacques Webster Sr., were both musicians, and his grandfather has a PhD. He's a college professor at Prairie View A&M, which is a historically black college or university. They taught him to play music from an early age. So he grew up playing drums and piano, but they tried to discourage him from music, which is apparently, from what I'm reading, basically because they wanted him to play real music, and he wanted to play the rap music. So they wanted him to be a legitimate musician, basically. But they also didn't push him into it, which you see with a lot of people like Michael Jackson's dad and stuff like that. He didn't grow up with the kind of pushing that the child star, the typical child star, grows up. He went to public high school, and then his parents sent him to college. They paid for his college tuition, but he took that tuition money, dropped out without telling them, and then used it to fund his early rap career. So he lied to his parents and told them he was going to college, but he was actually just taking the college money and paying for rent and other sundries. Okay, and then when they found out, they cut him off, and they cut off his cell phone. And so after that, he was in financial straits for a while, couch surfing, and he had reportedly several people paying for him, like supporting him financially, paying for his rent and things like that. And that's just something you see when someone's being groomed for this, what we're assuming is going on here. And so one of the people who supported him, I don't know if he supported him financially, but in terms of connections and career, was Kanye West. And so when I hear that guy's name, I just say case closed. Maybe I'm alone here, but Kanye West is a weirdo. We've all seen the Joe Rogan interview where he kind of loses his mind. And I mean, he's admitted that he's got mental health problems. There's a, you know, we don't need to speculate there, but so based on that brief biological sketch, you know, most of the time when I hear about a situation like this, I assume intergenerational abuse, okay, and linked to secret societies and things like that. And in this case, it doesn't appear to be that. It appears that his his family was trying to support him and doing everything they could and keep him out of this kind of thing. You know, for example, keeping him out of the music industry, and he wanted in. He wanted to get into the rap game, and that's where they got him. Okay, and tying him even more closely to Kanye West, he has a daughter with Kylie Jenner, right, and one more child on the way. So that's just like that whole family, you know, has so many weird things going on. I just can't imagine being a normal human being and being able to tolerate, you know, being in the same room as those types of people. So that is a very, very, very strong connection to the occult, to MK Ultra mind control scenarios, and I mean, I don't think he's, you know, part of any intergenerational thing, but by definition, right, by association, his daughter then is. So I'm going to cut to Kylie Jenner's Instagram feed, where apparently she had a video here of the concert that actually had an ambulance in it, and that was considered tasteless, you know, by some of her fans. So she took that down. But here's the trailer. This is Stormy, their daughter. So they took their daughter to this event where 8 people died that we know of. So that's the type of people we're dealing with. But here's a video. This is the concert, right? This is the stage, and that basically resembles, I mean, every depiction of the mouth of hell, the entrance to hell that I think I can remember, you know, seeing. And so Travis Scott's response, how did he handle people dying right in front of him? Well, according to the news, he interrupted his 75-minute set several times to tell them, you know, to check on them, to say, hey, you guys, calm down. So, in other words, he performed his entire 75-minute set while people died. Okay, he took some breaks and he said, hey guys, I hope there's not 8 people dying out there. But there's videos you can find online of the entire audience or everyone that you can hear from this person's cell phone saying, stop the show, stop the show, stop the show. And he kept going through all that for what it's worth. So, and that's, I mean, that's not a, that's a bit of a character flaw or evidence for such, in my estimation. And then, you know, the final question for this is why now? Why did this happen now, right? Well, remember, Halloween was less than a week ago, okay? And the Halloween is a season. What the occultists believe, according to my understanding, is that it's a period of time where the veil between worlds, you know, the world of the living and the world of the dead, are lifted. So it's not just the one night, although that's sort of supposed to be the climax of it. But you know, it's a season, and November 5th is Guy Fawkes Night, famous for a lot of occult things there, bonfires. Remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot, I think. And then, according to some occult calendars, November 4th is something called Satanic Revels. But again, I wouldn't put too much focus on that kind of stuff just because it's a season, right? You can space it out. But let's, you know, remember The other two events that I referenced, which was the last time this happened, and then the Altamont Speedway, which is I think still the most famous one. I mean, it's the one I think of, December 8th and December 6th, respectively, and then on 1979 and 1969. So that's interesting. Very interesting, sort of a November 5th to December 6th and 8th. That's about a month. So again, we're looking at the season, right? The pre-Advent season, the pre-Christmas season for this kind of stuff. So now on to my speculation. All right, this is what you all tuned in for, right? First thing I think of is all those cell phones, 50,000 cell phones, and you're crammed right up against someone. So if imagine you're squished within that many people, and you think about like a 6-foot bubble, right? Social distancing around you. Instead of having one cell phone right next to you, you could have 10 cell phones. So think about the effect the cell phones are going to have on you. That's the first thing I think of. I used to attend Magic Card thingies, events, and so you're sitting there for like 5 or 6 hours at a long table, several long tables with 40 or 50 nerds there in a big room. And I remember, lying there trying to sleep at night after coming home from these kinds of things. And I remember my ears just ringing like I had been at a concert. And that was one of the first experiences in my life where I realized that these cell phones, they do stuff to us, okay? So now in relation to the thing that we're not allowed to speak about, because this is a YouTube video, they're alleging that it contains nanoparticles, paramagnetic nanoparticles. I don't want to talk about the specific makeup of them, but you can find this out pretty easily. And nanotubules specifically. And so the magnetic or electromagnetic nature of these nanotubules causes them to be self-assembling into wires. And you can find if you just look up self-assembling nanoparticles, you'll see those self-assembling wires in petri dishes. You can see videos of this happening. So they're exposed to an electromagnetic current, and then they start to orient in relation to that electromagnetic current and form little snaky and dendritic, like tree branch patterns and things like that, like a lightning bolt. And they form wires or arrays, we would say, or antennas, you might call them. So these nanoparticles, which are in the thing that can't be named, have an affinity for cardiac tissue because there's a lot of electricity in the heart, in the nerves that are controlling the heart and telling it to beat. So that electricity causes them to orient themselves toward it, and they end up accumulating in the cardiac tissue. And this is what is causing apparently the problems that people are having with that part of their body, okay, in young people, and such as the age of the people at the concert, the youngest of whom was 10 years old. So exposure to an electromagnetic field, such as a cell phone or such as the Wi-Fi router that's on my computer that I'm sitting right in front of, is going to excite those nanoparticles and cause them to emit electrons, and that's basically short-circuiting your heart, and you're having a heart attack. Okay, that's the theory as it stands, and that's pretty well founded, in my opinion, right? However, eyewitnesses, and there's videos of this, report that the crowd crush was real, the rushing the stage was real, and so people were behaving badly basically during this event, and that would have the effect that has been described, of people passing out and things like that because they're being crushed. Okay, so we have to assume that that's real, and therefore the idea of electromagnetic fields merely exciting self-assembling nanoparticle arrays in people's cardiac tissue and therefore causing cardiac arrest does not explain what we're seeing. However, there's another part of the brain that has an affinity for these self-assembling nanotubules, and that is the brain. Obviously, because the brain is made of nerves, and the nerves are electrical, and that electricity is causing the nanotubules to migrate towards it and to form wires and things, basically. So the far out speculation here that I am putting forth is that the excitation of the nanotubule arrays within the brain is altering people's behavior. And there is plenty of research to suggest that this technology has existed for quite a long time, and that's what we're seeing. So that's altering people's brains, their behavior, and that is called mind control. And what I believe happened last night is an early rollout of that kind of thing. And the kind of thing that, in relation to the thing we can't talk about, is what's the Resident Evil scenario, the zombie scenario, Raccoon City. Yeah, they're thinking that this thing is going to start turning people into zombies, and I think that is what we are seeing. So just to clarify, because when people think about mind control, I made a video about it recently. You can check it out. But when people think about mind control, they think about specific commands, right? So rush the stage, rush the stage, rush the stage. That is specific idea going into people's brains, and that's not necessary. Okay. All you would really need to do is just stimulate their brain to make the person more aggressive. And when you're aggressive, you're not thinking about people as much. You're just thinking about what you want. And just from being in a concert, I mean, the point of going to a concert for a lot of people is to get to the front of the stage, right? To have the best experience, be closest to your idol, that you're worshiping. And so that if you just turn off your caring for other people, you're going to squish them naturally. And put on top of that the fact that the music is stimulating and hypnotic and things like that. And I think that is enough to explain what we saw last night. And so again, why now? Why? Because we've been having these concerts for a while. And I think not these concerts, but concerts have been coming back, right? Since I don't know, the summer or whenever concert season starts in the U.S. So why haven't we had any of these yet? Well, it could be just that not enough people have had the thing we're not allowed to talk about. Because that started in December 8th, and so now we're almost a year into it. But also, it fits in with the speculation that we're going to have a dark winter, a cold winter. Things like this are going to start amping up, and it doesn't really surprise me that it hasn't happened yet. And but in accordance with my speculation, this isn't going to be the last we see of the crazy concert phenomenon or other crazy phenomena, right? Remember the riots of 2020 occurred before the thing that we can't talk about was introduced, and they were terrible enough. We already saw violence and deaths, murders during that time. And so probably that'll happen again, but this time it'll be with more things we can't talk about, and it'll be with less food. Yeah, because we all know that that's happening this winter too. We're all being primed for that too. So that's my speculation. And again, I want to express my condolences to the families of the unfortunate victims of this, what is certainly some sort of a ritual. And get your kids out of these scenarios. Get your if you're involved, like the eyewitness video, who called it a concert in hell and demonic. It certainly is, and thank God he had the discernment to recognize that. But and he said he's going to not be involved in that kind of music anymore. So just get out of that. Take it as a warning. Unplug yourself from this whole beast system that they're rolling out. Tune into Dogg from Air, but more importantly, read books. Read books, hang out with your friends, and play music together. I'm into that. You don't have to be an expert. It's just fun. But anyway, this has been Evan Benton, Dogg from Air. Share this video because this is crazy stuff and it needs to get out there. Leave some comments. Tell me what you thought. And if you have any further clues into the background of this guy, because I'm sure people are the Anons are going to be going over his background with a fine-tooth comb. Leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And have a great night, everybody.